Smoke choked my lungs, the warehouse flames roaring as my daughter's betrayal burned hotter. I'm Emily Carter, a 55-year-old mother who built a tech empire in Silicon Valley, only to face a truth that shattered my world. My own flesh and blood.
It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Sarah locked me and my husband James in a death trap, plotting to steal everything we'd fought for.
Both of us.
But James's whisper,
talk about. Even
be
now,
quiet, there's still a way out.
He was my everything,
lit a spark in the darkness.
And then one
this
day,
isn't just a story
I remember
of survival.
that day like it was
a raw
yesterday.
Confession of
the
a
way
mother's
the light
broken
hit his
heart
face.
and unyielding strength.
It's hard to talk about.
Stay with me to uncover how I clawed my way out of the ashes.
Every time I think about it,
hit that subscribe button and drop a comment.
It's hard to talk
Where
about.
are you watching from and when?
Even now,
I'm sharing my soul here,
the pain is still
and you won't
so fresh.
believe what comes next.
It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Telling
deep
him
down
goodbye.
Family betrayal.
But I knew
I'm
it
sitting
was for
on the
the
porch
best
of our Palo
for both
Alto
of us.
home. The
It's
kind
hard
of
to
place
talk
you'd
about.
see in a postcard
Even now.
with its tidy lawn and
He
white
was my
picket fence.
everything, you know.
The kind of place I thought screamed,
And then one
we
day,
made it.
I remember
The
that
Silicon
day
Valley
like it was
sunset
yesterday.
burns red
the way
and gold,
the light hit his
painting
face.
the sky like it's trying
It's
to
hard
tell
to
me
talk
something.
about.
Maybe
Even
a
now.
warning I didn't catch back then.
Every time I think
I'm
about
Emily
it,
Carter,
the tears just
55
start.
years old, a mother
hard
who
to
poured
talk
her heart
about.
into raising a daughter and building
Even
a
now,
company,
after
only
all
to
this
learn the
time,
hard
the
way
pain
that
is still
dreams
so
can hide
fresh.
cracks deep enough to
It was the
swallow
hardest
you
thing
whole.
I've ever had to do.
My
telling him
hands,
goodbye.
rough from years of typing
But I
code
knew
and
it was
wiping
for the
tears,
best
clutch
for
a
both
mug
of
of
us.
coffee gone
It's
cold.
hard to talk about.
I'm not here to tell
Even
you a
now.
fairy tale. I'm here
was
to
my
confess how
everything,
my
you know.
world, my American dream
And then
started
one day,
to unravel.
I remember
And
that
damn
day like it was
hurts to
yesterday.
admit I didn't see it
the way
coming.
the light hit his
20
face.
years ago, James
It's
and I
hard
were
to talk
nobodies.
about.
Just
Even
two
now.
dreamers in a San Jose garage
Every time I
that
think
smelled
about
like
it,
motor
the
oil
tears
and
just
damp
start.
wood. The air
hard
was
to
thick
talk
with the
about.
hum of an old desktop computer.
Even now,
its
after
fan
all this
wheezing
time,
like
the
it was
pain is
begging
still
for
so
mercy.
fresh.
We'd stay up past
It was the
midnight,
hardest thing I've ever
coding
had to
until our
do,
eyes
telling him
burned,
goodbye.
fueled by cheap instant
But I
coffee
knew it
and
was
a
for the
crazy
best
belief we
for
could build
both of
something
us.
big.
It's hard to
Carter
talk
Tech
about.
was our baby
Even
before
now.
we even had Sarah.
He was my everything.
It started as a
you know?
scrappy startup, a long
And
shot
then one
in the
day,
cutthroat world
I
of
remember
Silicon
that
Valley.
day like it
but
was
we
yesterday.
turned it into $1 million
The way the
company,
light hit his
a
face.
software firm that made apps
hard
for
to talk
big
about.
players like Google
Even
and
now.
Apple. Every line
Every
of code,
time I think
every
about
late
it,
night
the tears
was a
just
brick
start.
in our American dream.
It's hard to
A
talk
promise
about.
to ourselves and our future kids
Even now,
that we'd
after
give them
all
a
this
life
time,
better than the
pain
one
is
we
still
started
so
with.
fresh.
Sarah was
It
born
was the
in the
hardest
middle of
thing
that
I've ever had
chaos,
to do,
a tiny
telling him
bundle
goodbye.
of joy who screamed her way
But I
into the
knew it was
world
for the
at
best
Stanford
for
Hospital.
both of us.
I remember
It's hard
holding
to talk
her,
about.
her little
Even
fingers
now.
curling around mine,
He was my
and feeling like my
everything,
heart
you know?
might burst. She was my
And then
everything.
one day,
my
I
reason to
remember
keep
that
going
day
when the
like
bank
it was
account was
yesterday.
empty,
The
and
way the
investors
light hit his
laughed us out of
face.
boardrooms.
It's hard to
I'd
talk
sit in that
about.
garage,
Even
rocking
now.
her cradle with one foot
Every
while
time I think
debugging
about
code
it,
with
the
James.
tears just start.
Those were the days I'd whisper
It's
to
hard
her,
to talk about.
"You're gonna run this world, kid."
Even now,
And damn
after
it,
all
I
this
believed
time,
it.
the pain is
Sarah
still
grew
so
up with a
fresh.
spark in her eyes,
It
solving
was the
math
hardest thing
puzzles
I've ever
before she
had
could
to
tie
do,
her shoes.
telling him goodbye.
I spent nights teaching her algebra,
But I knew it was
her
for the
pencil
best
scratching
for
away
both
under
of
the
us.
dim glow of a
It's
desk
hard to
lamp,
talk about.
her giggles
Even
filling the
now.
house when she cracked a problem.
He was my everything.
I poured
you know?
every dime we had
And then
into
one
her
day,
education,
I remember
every
that day
ounce of
like it
love
was
into
yesterday.
her dreams,
The way
because
the
that's
light
what a
hit his
mother
face.
does. She builds
It's
a
hard to
ladder for
talk
her
about.
kid to climb
Even
higher
now.
than she ever could. By
Every
the time
time I
Sarah
think
was
about it,
28,
the
she was a
tears just
star.
start.
MIT
It's hard to
graduate,
talk
top
about.
of her class, with a
Even
mind
now,
sharper than the
after
servers
all
running
this
our
time,
software.
The pain is still
When we
so
brought her
fresh.
on as Carter Tech's director of
It
product,
was the hardest thing
I
I've ever
swear
had
I could
to
have
do,
cried.
telling him goodbye.
Watching her walk into our
But I
sleek
knew it was
office
for
in
the
Mountain
best
View,
for both
all
of us.
glass walls and
It's hard to
humming
talk
monitors,
about.
I felt
Even
like I'd
now.
done it. Raised a
He was my
daughter who'd
everything,
carry our
you know?
legacy forward.
And
The
then
office
one day,
smelled like fresh
I remember
coffee
that
and
day
ambition,
like it was
with
yesterday.
coders tapping
The way
away
the
and
light hit his
whiteboards
face.
scribbled with ideas.
It's hard to talk
Sarah
about.
fit right in,
Even now,
pitching features with a confidence that made
every
my
time I
chest
think about
swell.
it, the tears
I'd catch her
just
eye
start.
during meetings, and she'd
It's hard to
flash that
talk about.
smile, the same one she gave me when she
Even
won
now,
her first science
after
fair.
all this
I
time,
thought,
the pain is
this is
still
it,
so
Emily. You
fresh.
built a family and a company that'll
It was the
outlast
hardest thing
you.
I've ever had
James
to do,
was my rock
telling him
through it
goodbye.
all. His hair's gone gray
But I
now,
knew it
but
was
back
for the
then
best
he was all
for
fire,
both of us.
soldering
It's
circuit
hard to
boards in the
talk about.
garage,
Even
charming
now.
investors with that easy
He was
grin.
my everything,
We were
you
a
know?
team, him. him and me,
And then one
balancing
day,
spreadsheets
I
and diaper
remember that
changes,
day like it was
dreaming of a day
yesterday.
we'd hand
The
Carter
way
Tech
the
to
light
Sarah
hit
and
his
retire
face.
to this very porch.
It's hard to talk
We'd
about.
sit here on weekends,
Even now.
sipping wine as the sun dipped
Every
below
time
the
I
hills,
think about it,
talking
the
about
tears just
grandkids
start.
and maybe a trip to Hawaii.
It's hard to talk about.
The breeze would carry the scent of eucalyptus
Even now,
from the neighbor's
after
yard,
all this
and
time,
I'd
the
think,
pain is
this
still
is what
so
we worked
fresh.
for. Our house,
It was the
with
hardest
its
thing I've
creaky
ever
oak
had to do,
floors and
telling
walls
him
covered in
goodbye.
Sarah's old drawings,
But
was
I
a
knew it was
monument
for the
to our
best,
hustle.
for both of
Every
us.
scuff mark
It's
told
hard
a
to talk
story.
about.
Sarah's
Even now,
first steps,
he was
James
my
carrying
everything,
me over the threshold, late night
And then one
strategy
day,
sessions when
I
Carter
remember
Tech
that
nearly
day
went
like
under.
it was yesterday.
Rachel was part
The
of
way
that
the
story
light
too.
hit his face.
She joined us in the early days,
It's hard to talk
a coder
about.
with a laugh
Even
that could light
now.
up a room. She was there
Every
when we
time I
landed
think
our
about
first
it,
big
the
contract,
tears just start.
popping champagne in that
It's
dingy
hard to talk
garage.
about.
Over the years, she
Even
became
now,
like family,
after all
the aunt
this
Sarah
time, the
adored,
pain is still
the sister
so
I
fresh.
leaned on. We'd huddle
It
over
was the
laptops,
hardest thing I've ever had
Rachel's
to do,
curly hair
telling him
falling over
goodbye.
her eyes as she debugged
But
code,
I knew it was
her
for the
jokes
best,
keeping us
for
sane.
both of us.
I
It's
trusted
hard
her
to
with
talk
everything.
about.
Our
Even
books,
now.
our secrets, our dreams.
He was my everything.
When I
you
look
know?
back, I wonder how I missed
And
the
then
signs,
one day,
how I
I
let
remember
myself
that
believe
day
we were
like it
all
was
on the same
yesterday.
team.
The way the
But
light
that's
hit
the
his
thing about
face.
trust. It
It's
blinds
hard
you,
to talk about.
makes you think the
Even
people
now.
you love will never stick a knife
Every
in
time
your
I
back.
think about it,
I should
the
have
tears
noticed the
just
cracks
start.
sooner. Maybe
hard
it was
to
the way
talk about.
Sarah started dodging my questions
Even
about
now,
project
after
timelines,
all this
or how
time, the
Rachel's
pain is
laugh
still
seemed
so
forced
fresh.
lately. But I was too
It was the
busy
hardest
being
thing
a
I've ever
proud
had to
mom,
do,
too
telling
caught
him
up in the
goodbye.
glow of our success.
But I
Carter
knew it was
Tech
for the
was
best,
thriving.
for both
Our
of
apps
us.
were on every
It's
smartphone.
hard to talk about.
Our name in tech
Even
blogs.
now.
I'd walk through the
He was my
office past
everything,
rows of
you know?
monitors flickering with code
And then one
feel
day,
like a queen.
I remember
I'd
that
see
day
Sarah
like it
leading
was
a team,
yesterday.
her voice
The way
sharp
the
and
light
sure,
hit his
and think,
face.
that's my girl.
It's hard to talk
I'd hug
about.
James at night,
Even now.
his arms warm and steady, and
Every
dream
time
of
I
the
think
day we'd
about it,
step back,
the tears
let
just
Sarah
start.
take the helm, and watch
It's
our
hard to talk
grandkids
about.
play on this lawn. The
Even
eucalyptus
now,
trees would
after
sway,
all this
the
time,
stars
the
would
pain is
come
still
out,
so
and I'd
fresh.
feel whole.
It was
Now,
the hardest thing
sitting
I've ever
here
had
with
to
this
do,
cold
telling him
coffee,
goodbye.
I realized those dreams
But
were
I
a
knew
house
it was
of
for
cards.
the best,
The
for both of
sunset's
us.
fading, and
It's
the
hard
air
to talk
feels
about.
heavier,
Even now.
like it's carrying the weight of
He
what's
was
to
my
come.
everything, you know?
I didn't know it then,
And
but
then
the
one
ground
day,
was
I
already
remember that day
shifting
like it was
under me.
yesterday.
Sarah,
the way the light hit
my
his
heart,
face.
my pride,
It's hard to
was
talk
about to
about.
show me a
Even
side of her I
now.
never imagined.
Every
Rachel,
time I
my
think
friend,
about
was
it,
hiding
the tears
secrets I'd
just
never
start.
suspect. And
hard to
James, my
talk
partner
about.
in everything, would soon
Even
whisper
now,
words
after
that'd
all
save
this
our
time,
lives.
the pain is still
I
so
thought I'd built a
fresh.
perfect world.
It
Carter
was the
Tech,
hardest thing I've ever
Sarah,
had to do,
our home.
telling him goodbye.
But damn it, I was wrong.
But I knew
The
it was for
American
the best,
dream I chased
for
was
both
about
of
to
us.
burn,
It's
and
hard
it'd
to
start
talk
with the
about.
daughter I loved
Even
more
now.
than life itself.
He was my
Looking
everything,
back,
you know?
I see the moments I ignored.
And then one
the way
day,
Sarah's
I
eyes
remember that
flickered when I
day
asked
like
about
it was
budgets.
yesterday.
The late
The way
night
the light
calls
hit his
Rachel took
face.
outside the office.
It's hard to
I was
talk
too
about.
busy being a mother,
Even now.
too busy believing in my girl
Every
to see
time
the
I
truth.
think about it,
But
the
that's where
tears
this
just
story
start.
begins.
It's
Right
hard to
here
talk
on this
about.
porch, with the life I thought
Even
was
now,
mine.
after all this time,
I'm Emily
the pain
Carter,
is still
a
so
mom who
fresh.
thought she'd done everything right.
It was
and
the
this
hardest
is how it
thing
all
I've ever
started
had
to
to
fall
do,
apart.
telling him goodbye.
Damn it, I wish I'd known.
But I knew it was
The
for the
sunset's
best.
gone now,
For both of us.
swallowed by the
It's
Silicon
hard to
Valley
talk
night.
about.
And I'm
Even
still on this
now.
damn porch.
He was
the
my
coffee in my
everything,
mug
you know?
colder than my heart feels
And
right
then one
now.
day, I
That
remember
warm
that
glow
day
I
like it was
described,
yesterday.
the one that made
the way
me
the
think
light
I
hit
built
his face.
something unbreakable with
It's hard to
James and
talk
Sarah.
about.
It's
Even
starting
now.
to feel like a lie I told myself.
Every time I think
I'm
about it,
Emily
the
Carter,
tears just
55,
start.
a mother who
It's hard
thought
to
she
talk
knew her
about.
daughter, who thought her American
Even
dream
now,
was bulletproof.
after all this time,
But that
the
night
pain
in the
is
Carter
still
Tech
so
office,
fresh.
under the harsh buzz
It
of
was the
neon
hardest
lights,
thing I've ever had to
I
do,
saw the
telling him
first
goodbye.
cracks in that dream,
But I
and they
knew it
cut
was for the
deeper
best.
than I could have
for both
imagined.
of us. It's
I'm
hard
telling
to
you
talk
this
about.
as it happened,
Even now,
as I felt it.
he was my everything.
Because I need you
know?
to understand how a mother's
And
love
then one
can
day,
blind you
I
to the
remember
truth,
that day like it
staring
was
you you in the
yesterday.
face.
The way the
It was a
light hit his
Tuesday,
face.
maybe a month after I sat on this
It's hard to
porch,
talk about,
dreaming of
even
grandkids
now.
and retirement. I was in
Every
my
time I
office at
think
Carter
about
Tech,
it, the
a corner
tears
room
just
with glass
start.
walls that let me see the
It's hard to
whole
talk
floor.
about.
Coders hunched over
Even
monitors,
now, after all
whiteboards
this
scrawled with
time, the pain
algorithms,
is still
the
so
hum of
fresh.
ambition in the air.
It was
The
the
office
hardest thing
smelled
I've
like
ever
fresh
had to
coffee
do,
and the
telling
faint
him
tang
goodbye.
of dry erase markers.
But I
A
knew it
scent
was for
that
the
used
best.
to make me feel alive.
For both of us.
But that
It's hard
night,
to talk about.
something was off.
Even now.
I'd been noticing it for weeks.
He was my everything.
Sarah
you
wasn't
know?
the same. My girl,
And then one
who
day,
used to burst into
I
my
remember
office
that
with
day
ideas,
like it was
her eyes
yesterday.
sparkling like
The way
they
the
did when
light
she
hit
won
his
her
face.
first science fair,
It's
now
hard to talk
avoided me.
about.
She'd
Even
slip into
now.
meetings with Rachel, their heads
Every
bent
time I
close
think
behind the
about it,
frosted
the
glass of the
tears just
conference room,
start.
their voices low
hard
like
to
they were
talk
hiding
about.
something. I'd catch a glimpse
Even
of
now,
Sarah's blonde
after all
ponytail
this
swinging
time,
as she
the
turned
pain is
away,
still so
and it felt like a
fresh.
door slamming shut.
It was the
I
hardest
tried
thing
to
I've
brush
ever
it
had
off.
to do.
Mothers
telling
do
him
that,
goodbye.
make excuses for their kids.
But I knew it was for the best.
I'd tell myself
for
Sarah
both of
was
us.
stressed,
It's
maybe
hard to talk
overwhelmed by
about.
her role as
Even
director of
now.
product. She was
He was my
28,
everything,
leading
you
a
know?
team in Silicon Valley's Shark
And then
Tank.
one day,
so of course,
I remember
she
that
was
day
busy.
like it was
But
yesterday.
then I'd remember her as a
the
kid,
way the light hit his
sitting on our
face.
kitchen counter in Palo
It's
Alto,
hard to talk about.
swinging her legs
Even
and asking
now.
me to check her math homework.
Every time
I'd
I
run my
think
fingers
about it,
through her hair,
the tears just
soft as
start.
corn silk, and
It's
we'd
hard to
laugh
talk
over her
about.
mistakes. Sarah felt
Even
like
now,
a ghost now,
after all this
replaced by this
time, the
cold
pain is still
stranger
so
who barely
fresh.
looked me in the eye.
It was the
I'd
hardest
stand at
thing
my
I've ever
desk,
had to do.
staring at her
telling him
through the
goodbye.
glass, and feel a pang in
But
my
I knew
chest,
it was for the
like
best.
someone was
for both
squeezing
of
my
us.
heart just to see
It's
how much
hard
it could
to talk
take.
about. Even
Then
now,
came the numbers.
he was my
James
everything,
stormed into
you
my
know?
office that night, his
And
gray
then
hair
one day,
sticking up like
I
he'd been
remember
tugging
that
at
day
it.
like it was
He's always
yesterday.
been my anchor,
The way the light
steady,
hit his face.
even when the world shook.
It's hard
but his
to talk
face was
about.
pale, his
Even
hands
now.
trembling as he slapped a stack of
Every
bank
time I
statements
think
on my
about
desk.
it, the tears
The paper
just
smelled
start.
faintly of ink,
It's hard
and the
to
numbers
talk
on them
about.
screamed louder than any
Even
words
now,
could.
after all this time,
Emily,
the pain is
he
still
said,
so fresh.
his voice low, almost broken.
It was the hardest thing
We're
I've ever
missing
had to do.
$100 million.
telling him goodbye.
My stomach dropped.
But I knew it was
like
for
I
the
just
best.
stepped off a cliff.
For both of us.
100
It's hard
million.
to talk about.
That wasn't
Even
a
now.
glitch or a bad quarter.
He was my
That was our
everything,
life's
you know?
work. The blood and
And
sweat
then
we
one
poured
day,
into Carter Tech.
I remember that
gone.
day like it was
I
yesterday.
looked at James,
the way
his
the
eyes
light
searching
hit his
mine for
face.
answers, and all I could
It's
think
hard to
was,
talk about.
how did
Even
we
now.
not see this?
Every
I
time
marched
think
to Sarah's
about it,
office,
the tears
my
just
heels
start.
clicking on the polished
It's
floor,
hard to talk
the
about.
sound echoing like a countdown.
Even now,
She was there,
after all
leaning
this
over her
time, the
laptop,
pain is
her
still
face
so
lit
fresh.
blue by the screen.
was
Rachel
the
was with
hardest
her,
thing I've ever
their
had
voices
to do,
cutting off the
telling
second
him
I walked
goodbye.
in. The air felt thick,
But I knew
like
it was for the
holding
best.
secrets.
For both of us.
Sarah,
It's hard to talk
I said,
about.
trying to keep my voice
Even
steady.
now.
We need to talk about
He was
the
my
accounts.
everything, you know?
Her eyes flicked up, and for a
And
split
then one
second,
day,
I saw
I remember
something.
that day
Guilt,
like it was
maybe,
yesterday.
Or fear,
The way
before
the
she
light hit
plastered
his
on
face.
that smile, the one
It's
she
hard
used
to
to
talk
charm
about.
investors.
Even now.
Mom, don't worry, I've got
Every time
this,
I think
she
about it,
said, her
the
voice
tears
smooth as
just
glass. But it wasn't
It's hard
smooth
to
enough
talk
to hide
about.
the lie. I stood there,
Even now,
my hands
after
clenched,
all this time,
remembering
the
the
pain
nights
is
I'd
still
held her
so
when she
fresh.
cried over a bad grade,
It was the hardest
promising
thing I've
her
ever
she could
had
do
to
anything.
do. Telling him goodbye.
Damn it, Sarah, what are you hiding?
But I knew it was
I pushed
for the best.
harder, asking
for
about
both
the
of us.
canceled contracts,
It's hard to talk
big
about.
deals with
Even
companies
now.
like Google that
He
vanished
was
without
my
explanation.
everything, you know?
Our revenue was tanking,
And then one
and I
day,
could feel the company
I remember
slipping
that
through
day
my fingers
like it was yesterday.
sand.
The
Sarah
way
just
the light
shrugged,
hit his
her
face.
fingers tapping impatiently
It's
on her
hard
desk.
to talk about.
It's just a
Even
rough
now.
patch, Mom. Happens in tech.
Every time I think about
Rachel
it,
nodded,
the tears
her
just
curly
start.
hair bouncing, but her
It's hard to
smile
talk
didn't reach her
about.
eyes. I wanted to scream,
Even now,
to shake them
after all
both
this
and
time,
demand
the
the
pain
truth.
is still so
but I was still a
fresh.
mother, still clinging
It was
to
the
the hope
hardest
that
thing
my
I've ever
daughter
had
wouldn't
to do,
betray me.
telling him goodbye.
I walked out, my heart
But I
pounding,
knew it was for the best.
the office's
for
neon
both of
lights
us.
buzzing like
It's
a
hard to
warning
talk
I
about.
didn't heed.
Even now.
Back home that night,
He was my
I sat at our
everything,
kitchen
you know?
table, the same one where Sarah
And then
used to
one
do her
day,
homework,
I
her
remember
pencils
that
scattered
day
across
like it
the
was
oak
yesterday.
surface.
The way
house
the
was
light
quiet,
hit his
too
face.
quiet, the kind of
It's hard
silence
to
that
talk
makes you
about.
hear your own heartbeat.
Even now.
I ran my fingers over
Every
a
time I
scratch on the
think
table,
about it,
one
the
Sarah
tears
made
just
when she was
start.
10, trying to
hard
carve her
to talk
initials
about.
with a butter knife. I'd scolded
Even now,
her then,
after
but
all
now
this
I'd give
time, the
anything
pain
to
is
have
still
that
so
little girl
fresh.
back. James
It was
sat
the
across
hardest
from
thing
me,
I've ever had
his
to do,
hands wrapped
telling him
around a
goodbye.
beer, his face etched
But
with
I
worry.
knew it was for the best.
Emily,
for both of
he
us.
said,
It's hard
something's
to talk
wrong.
about.
I checked
Even
the
now.
logs. Someone's
He
been
was my
moving money,
everything,
big
you know?
sums, and it's not adding up.
And then one day,
I looked at him,
I remember
my
that
throat
day
tight, and
like
whispered,
it was yesterday.
"You think it's Sarah?"
The way the light hit his face.
He didn't answer, but his
It's hard to
silence was
talk
louder louder than any confession. I lay awake that night staring at the ceiling, the moonlight spilling through our bedroom window like a spotlight on my fears. I remembered Sarah's first day at Carter Tech, how she'd hugged me in front of the team, calling me Mom.
It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
I'd felt invincible, like we'd built something no one could touch.
But I knew it was for the best.
But now, every memory was tainted.
It's hard to talk about.
Had she been planning this all along? Was the daughter I loved, the one I'd given everything for, capable of stealing from us?
I remember that day like it was yesterday.
I thought of the garage days,
the way the light
James
hit
and
his
me
face.
laughing over burnt coffee,
It's hard to talk
Sarah
about.
asleep in her
Even
cradle.
now.
That was my American
Every time
dream.
I think about it,
a family,
the tears just
a company, a legacy.
It's hard to talk about.
But as I lay there, the weight
Even
of
now,
those missing
after
millions
all this
pressed
time,
down
the
on
pain
me,
is
and I
still
felt
so
it slipping
fresh.
away. I'm
It was
telling
the
you this
hardest thing
now
I've
with the
ever had to
clarity
do,
of someone who's
telling him
seen the
goodbye.
other side, because I need
But I
you
knew
to
it was
feel
for
what
the
I
best,
felt.
for both
The
of us.
slow, sickening
It's hard to
crack
talk
of
about.
a mother's
Even
trust
now.
breaking.
He was my everything.
I stood in that office under those damn neon
and then
lights
one day,
and watched my
I
daughter
remember
turn
that
into a
day
stranger.
like it was yesterday.
I didn't know then
the way
how
the
deep
light
the
hit his
betrayal
face.
ran, how it would nearly
It's hard
bury
to talk
me.
about.
But that
Even
night,
now.
as the first cracks appeared,
Every time I think about
I was
it,
still
the tears
Emily
just start.
Carter, a mother who
hard to
believed
talk
she could
about.
fix anything, even a dream
Even
that was
now,
starting to crumble.
after all this time,
Damn it,
the
I was
pain is
wrong,
still
but I
so
wasn't ready to
fresh.
give up. Not yet.
It was the hardest thing I've ever
The
had to
moonlight
do,
spills through
telling
the
him
window
goodbye.
of my Palo Alto home now,
But I knew it was
casting
for the
shadows
best,
that twist
for both
like
of
my
us.
thoughts.
It's hard
But
to
that
talk
night
about.
at Carter Tech,
Even
it was
now.
the same pale glow
He was my
that lit up the
everything,
truth
I
never wanted to face.
And then one day,
I'm Emily
I remember
Carter,
that day
55,
like it was yesterday.
a mother who thought
the way
she
the
knew
light
her daughter,
hit his face.
who thought her love could
It's hard
shield
to
her
talk
from the
about.
world's ugliness.
Even now.
But that night,
Every
hiding
time I
behind
think
a
about
bookshelf
it,
in our
the
Mountain
tears
View
just
office,
start.
I heard words that
hard to
shattered
talk
my
about.
heart like glass on concrete.
Even now,
I'm
after
telling
all
you this
this
as I
time,
lived
the
it,
pain is still
as
so
I felt
fresh.
every stab of betrayal.
It was the hardest thing
because
I've
I
ever
need you
had
to
to
understand
do, telling
how
him
it
goodbye.
feels when your own
But I
blood
knew it
turns
was for the
against
best,
you.
for
Damn
both
it,
of us.
I was a fool.
It's hard
but I
to
wasn't
talk
going down
about.
without a fight.
Even now.
It was a week after
was
James
my
dropped the bomb
everything,
about
you
the
know?
missing $100 million.
And then one day,
that gut
I
punch
remember
that
that
left
day
me
like it
reeling
was
in my
yesterday.
office under those
the
damn
way the light
neon
hit his
lights.
face.
I couldn't sleep.
It's hard to talk
couldn't
about.
eat.
Even
Haunted
now.
by Sarah's fake smile and
Every
Rachel's
time I think
two
about
quick
it,
nods.
the tears just
The
start.
office, once my
hard to talk
kingdom,
about.
felt like a trap. Its
Even
glass
now,
walls
after all
reflecting
this
my doubts
time,
back
the
at
pain
me.
is still so
I'd
fresh.
pace the halls after hours,
It was the hardest
hum
thing
of
I've ever
servers
had to
mocking
do,
my
telling him
unease,
goodbye.
their steady drone, a
But I knew it
contrast
was
to
for
the
the
chaos
best,
in my head.
for both of us.
I kept
It's
replaying
hard to
Sarah's
talk about.
words.
Even
Mom,
now.
I've got this.
He was my
And the way
everything,
her eyes
you know?
flickered, like she was hiding a
And then one
secret
day,
bigger than I could
I
imagine.
remember that day like
I'd
it was
raised her to be
yesterday.
honest, to fight
the way
for
the
what's
light
right,
hit
so
his face.
why did I feel
It's
like I
hard
was
to talk
losing
about.
her?
Even now.
That night, I stayed late at Carter Tech,
Every time I
telling
think
James
about
I
it,
needed to
the
catch
tears
up on
just start.
emails. Truth
It's hard
is,
to
I was
talk
hunting
about.
for answers. The office was
Even
dark,
now,
save for the
after all
moonlight
this
streaming through
time,
the
the pain
windows,
is still so
painting the
fresh.
floor in silver streaks.
It was the
air
hardest thing I've
smelled
ever
of
had to
stale
do,
coffee and the
telling him
faint
goodbye.
metallic tang of electronics.
But I knew it
I was
for the
sifting through
best,
financial
for
reports
both
on
of
my
us.
computer,
It's
my
hard to
eyes
talk
burning
about.
from the screen's
Even
glare,
now.
when I heard
He was
voices,
my everything,
low,
you know?
urgent, coming from
And
Sarah's
then one
office
day,
down the hall.
I remember
My
that
heart
day
thudded,
like it was
a
yesterday.
primal instinct telling
the way
me to
the
listen.
light hit his
I
face.
slipped off my heels, the
It's
cold
hard to
floor
talk
biting
about.
my feet,
Even
and
now.
crept toward the sound, hiding
Every
behind a
time I
bookshelf
think
lined
about
with
it,
tech
the tears
manuals and
just
awards
start.
we'd won together as a
It's hard
team.
to talk about.
Sarah's voice cut through the silence,
Even now,
sharp and
after
cold,
all this time,
nothing like the
pain
girl
is
who'd
still
once
so
begged me to
fresh.
read her bedtime stories.
It was the hardest thing I've
Mom's
ever
too
had
old
to do,
school for
telling him
Silicon
goodbye.
Valley, she said, her
But I
words
knew it was
slicing
for
into
the
me.
best,
She's
for
holding
both
us
of us.
back. We need to move
It's hard
now.
to talk about.
Rachel's
Even
voice
now.
chimed in,
He was
smooth
my
and calculated.
everything, you know?
The signatures are ready.
And then
we
one
transfer
day,
the shares at the
I remember
anniversary
that
party,
day
get them
like
to
it
the
was
warehouse,
yesterday.
and make it look like
the
an
way
accident.
the light hit his face.
My knees buckled
It's
and I
hard to
gripped the
talk
bookshelf,
about.
its
Even
edges
now.
digging into my palms.
Every
They were
time I
talking
think
about
about it,
forging my
the tears
signature,
just start.
stealing Carter Tech.
It's hard to talk
and,
about.
God help me, killing us.
Even now,
Sarah,
after
my
all
Sarah,
this
was
time,
planning
the
to
pain
lock
is
me
still
and
so
James in a
fresh.
warehouse and burn it down.
It was the hardest thing I've
staging
ever
it as a
had to do,
tragic fire
telling him
during our
goodbye.
20-year celebration.
But I
I
knew
stood
it
there
was for
frozen,
the best,
the
for
moonlight
both of
catching
us.
dust motes
It's
in the
hard to
air,
talk
each one
about.
floating like
Even
a
now.
fragment of my shattered dream.
He was my everything.
I remembered
you know?
Sarah at 5,
And then
her
one
tiny
day,
hand in mine
I
as we
remember
walked
that
through a
day
San
like it was
Jose park,
yesterday.
her laughter
The way the light
echoing
hit
as she
his
chased
face.
butterflies.
It's
I'd
hard to
kneel in the
talk
grass,
about.
her sticky
Even
fingers
now.
smearing ice cream cream on my cheek,
Every time
and
I
I'd
think about it,
this is
the
why I
tears
do it
just
all.
start.
Now, those
It's hard to
memories
talk
felt like
about.
lies. My daughter,
Even now,
the one I'd poured my
after all
soul
this
into,
time,
wanted
the
me
pain is
dead
still
for
so
money and
fresh.
power. The pain
It
was
was the
physical,
hardest thing I've
a
ever
knife
had to
twisting
do,
in my chest,
telling him goodbye.
stealing my breath. I wanted to
knew it was
scream,
for
to
the
storm
best
in and shake
both
her,
of us.
to demand why
It's
she'd
hard to
turned
talk
into
about,
this stranger.
even now.
But I stayed still.
He was my
heart
everything,
pounding
you know?
so loud I was sure
And then
they'd
one
hear
day,
it.
I remember
Rachel's
that
voice
day
pulled me
like
back.
it was yesterday.
The warehouse is
the
perfect.
way the light hit his
Old,
face.
flammable, no cameras.
It's hard to
We
talk
lock them
about,
in, start the
even
fire,
now.
and we're free. The board
Every
will
time
back
I
us
think
once
about
they're
it,
gone.
the tears just
Sarah
start.
laughed, a sound that
hard to
chilled me to
talk
the
about.
bone. Yeah, and we'll cry
Even
at their
now,
funeral, play the
after all
grieving
this
family.
time,
It's
the pain is
foolproof.
still so fresh.
Foolproof.
It was
The
the
word
hardest thing I've
echoed in
ever
my
had to
head,
do.
each
telling him
syllable a
goodbye.
betrayal. I saw
But I
Sarah's
knew it
birth
was for
again,
the best,
her tiny
for both
body in
of
my
us.
arms,
It's
the
hard to
hospital
talk
room
about,
smelling of
even now.
antiseptic and hope.
He was
I'd
my
whispered to
everything,
her,
you know?
"You're my world."
And then one day,
Now she
I
was
remember
ready to
that day
burn that
like it
world
was
down.
yesterday.
Damn
The
it,
way
how
the
did I
light
raise a
hit his
monster?
face.
I slipped back
It's
to my
hard
office,
to talk about,
my bare feet
even now.
silent on the floor, my mind
Every
racing.
time I think about it,
I sank
the tears
into my
just
chair,
start.
the leather
It's
creaking
hard to
under
talk
me,
about.
and stared at the framed photo
Even
on
now,
my desk.
after
Me,
all this
James,
time,
and
the
Sarah
pain is
at her
still so
MIT
fresh.
graduation, all
It
smiles
was the hardest
under
thing
a
I've
bright
ever had to
Boston
do,
sky.
telling him goodbye.
My fingers traced her face,
But I knew
and
it was
tears
for the
burned
best,
my eyes.
for both of
I
us.
wanted to believe it was
It's
a
hard to
mistake,
talk about,
that I'd misheard.
even now.
But the truth was clawing
He was my
at me.
everything,
I
you
thought
know?
of the garage days.
And then
James
one day,
and me laughing
I remember
over burnt
that day
coffee,
like it was
Sarah
yesterday.
asleep
The
in her
way the
cradle.
light hit his face.
We built Carter Tech for
It's
her,
hard to talk
for our
about,
family,
even
and now
now.
she was tearing it apart. The
Every
office
time I
felt
think
like
about
a
it,
tomb,
the tears
its
just
glass
start.
walls closing in,
It's hard to
the
talk
moonlight
about.
mocking my blindness.
Even now,
James
after
was
all
waiting
this
at home,
time, the
his
pain is
truck
still
parked
so
crooked
fresh.
in the driveway, a sign he
It was the
as
hardest
rattled
thing
as
I've
I
ever
was.
had to do,
I stumbled
telling him
through the front
goodbye.
door, the familiar creak of
But
the
I
oak
knew it was
floor
for the
grounding
best,
me.
for
He was
both
in
of
the
us.
kitchen,
It's
a beer
hard to talk
untouched on the
about,
table,
even
his
now.
eyes dark with worry.
He was my everything,
"Emily,
you know?
what's wrong?" he asked,
And then one
standing
day,
as I collapsed
I
into a
remember
chair.
that day like
I told
it was
him everything,
yesterday.
my voice
The way the
breaking as I
light hit his
recounted
face.
Sarah's words,
It's
Rachel's
hard to talk
plan.
about,
The kitchen
even
smelled
now.
of the lavender candles we'd lit for
Every time I
Sarah's
think
last
about it,
birthday,
the
a
tears
cruel
just
reminder
start.
of happier days.
It's hard to talk
James's
about.
face hardened, but he took
Even
my hand,
now,
his
after
grip
all this
steady.
time, the pain
"We'll
is
fight
still
this,
so
Emily,"
fresh.
he whispered, his
It was
voice
the
a
hardest thing
lifeline.
I've ever had to
They
do,
won't take us
telling him
down.
goodbye.
I nodded,
But I
though
knew
my
it was for
heart
the best,
was a wreck.
for both of us.
I remembered teaching
It's hard
Sarah
to
to
talk
ride
about,
a bike,
even
her
now.
wobbly pedals and triumphant
my
grin when she
everything,
finally
you know?
got it. I'd cheered,
And then one
my voice
day,
hoarse,
I remember
thinking I'd
that
given her
day
wings.
like it was yesterday.
Now those wings
The way
were
the
sharp,
light hit his
cutting me
face.
open. But
It's hard
James's
to talk
words
about,
lit a spark
even
in me.
now.
I was a mother, yes,
Every time I
but I was
think
also
about
a
it,
fighter,
the tears just
forged in the
start.
fires of Silicon
It's hard to
Valley's
talk
ruthless
about.
game. I didn't know how
Even
we'd
now,
survive this, but
after all
damn
this
it, I wasn't
time,
ready
the
to let
pain
my
is
daughter
still
bury
so
me.
fresh.
Not yet.
It was the
moonlight
hardest thing I've
outside
ever had to
faded,
do,
and I knew
telling
the
him
real
goodbye.
fight was just beginning.
But I
The
knew it was
moonlight
for the
from
best,
that night in the
for
Carter
both of
Tech
us.
office still
It's hard
haunts
to
me.
talk about,
Its cold
even
glow,
now.
a reminder of Sarah's
my
voice
everything,
plotting
you know?
to burn us alive.
And then one day,
I'm Emily Carter,
I remember that
55,
day like it was
a mother
yesterday.
who thought her love
the way
could
the
conquer
light
anything.
hit his face.
But now I'm sitting
It's
on my
hard to talk
Palo
about,
Alto porch,
even now.
the air thick with the scent of eucalyptus,
Every time I think
trying
about
to
it,
piece
the
together
tears
how I
just
survived
start.
the moment my daughter
It's
tried
hard
to
to
bury
talk
me.
about.
That night in the
Even
warehouse,
now,
just days
after
after
all
I
this
overheard her
time, the
betrayal,
pain is still
I
so
felt the weight
fresh.
of her plan crash
It was
down
the hardest
like a
thing I've
collapsing
ever had
building.
to do, telling him
I'm
goodbye.
telling you this as I lived it.
But I knew
My
it was
heart
for the
pounding,
best,
my
for
lungs
both of
burning.
us. It's
Because I
hard to
need
talk
you to
about,
feel the terror
even
of a
now.
mother fighting not
He
just
was my
for her life,
everything, you know?
but for the truth about the child
And
she
then
raised.
one day, I
Damn
remember
it,
that
I was
day
scared.
like it was
But
yesterday.
I wasn't ready to die.
The way the light hit
It was
his
the night of
face.
Carter Tech's
It's
20-year
hard to talk
anniversary
about,
party, a
even
celebration
now.
meant to mark our triumph in
Every
Silicon
time I
Valley.
think about it,
The
the
warehouse
tears
in
just
outer
start.
San Jose was decked out
hard
like
to
a
talk
dream.
about.
String lights dangling
Even
from the
now,
rafters,
after all
their
this
warm
time, the
glow
pain is
bouncing
still
off
so
the rough
fresh.
wooden beams.
It was
the
the
air
hardest
smelled
thing
of
I've ever had
barbecue
to
and
do,
expensive
telling him
wine,
goodbye.
laughter echoing from
But I knew it
employees
was
who'd
for the
become like
best,
family.
for both of us.
I wore a navy
It's
dress.
hard to talk about,
The one Sarah
even
once
now.
said made me look like a
He
boss.
was my everything,
But
you
my
know?
stomach churned with with dread.
And then one day,
James and I had
I
spent
remember
days
that day
planning,
like it was
whispering in
yesterday.
our kitchen
The
about
way
how
the
to
light
stay
hit
sharp,
his face.
knowing Sarah and Rachel's
It's hard to
scheme.
talk about.
I kept my
Even
phone in my
now.
pocket, set to record just
Every
in case.
time I think about it,
Every
the
smile
tears
Sarah
just
flashed
start.
at me during the party.
It's hard to talk
Every,
about.
Mom, you look great.
Even now,
Felt like a knife
after
twisting
all this
deeper.
time, the pain
I
is
saw her
still
as a
so
toddler
fresh.
again, giggling as I
It
pushed
was
her
the
on a
hardest
swing,
thing I've ever
her
had
tiny
to do,
hands
telling
reaching
him
for
goodbye.
me. How did that girl become
But I
this?
knew it was for the best.
The party was in full swing when Sarah
hard
pulled
to
us
talk
aside,
about.
her
Even
blonde
now.
hair catching the light like a
He was my
halo she didn't
everything,
deserve.
you know?
Mom, Dad, we need
And
you to
then
check
one day,
something in the storage room.
I remember that day
she
like
said,
it was
her voice
yesterday.
syrupy sweet.
The way the light hit his
Rachel
face.
nodded, her curls bobbing,
It's hard to talk
her eyes
about,
avoiding mine.
even now.
My heart raced, but I
Every
played
time I
along,
think about it,
gripping
the
James's
tears
hand
just
as we
start.
followed them through the crowd.
It's hard to talk about.
The storage room was at the back of the warehouse,
Even now,
a cavernous
after all
space
this
piled
time,
with
the pain
old
is still
servers
so
and
fresh.
crates, smelling of dust
It was
and
the
motor
hardest
oil.
thing I've ever had to
The
do.
door was
telling
heavy
him
steel,
goodbye.
rusted at the edges.
But I knew
and
it
as we
was for the
stepped
best,
inside,
for
I
both
heard
of
it
us.
slam shut
It's hard
behind
to
us.
talk about.
The lock
Even
clicked,
now.
a sound sharp
He was
as
my
a gunshot.
everything, you know?
I spun around, banging
And
on the
then
door,
one day,
but Sarah's
I
voice
remember
came
that
through,
day
cold
like it was
as ice.
yesterday.
Sorry,
The way
Mom,
the
it's
light
for the
hit his
best.
face.
Then I smelled it.
It's hard to talk
Smoke,
about,
creeping
even now.
under the door, acrid and suffocating.
Every time I think about
Panic
it,
hit
the
me like
tears
a wave.
just start.
The air grew thick.
It's hard to
the
talk
smoke
about.
curling in like a living thing,
Even now,
stinging my eyes.
after all this
I
time, the
coughed,
pain
my
is
throat
still
raw,
so fresh.
and saw James's face.
It was the
lit
hardest
by the
thing I've
faint
ever
glow
had
of
to
a
do,
flickering
telling him
bulb,
goodbye.
His eyes wide but
But
fierce.
I knew it was for the best.
Emily,
For both of us.
we're not done yet.
It's hard to
he
talk
rasped,
about.
grabbing
Even
my
now.
arm. I stumbled,
He was my
dress
everything,
catching on
you
a
know?
crate, and fell to my knees.
And then one
the
day,
concrete floor
I remember
cold
that
and
day like
unforgiving.
it was yesterday.
Images of
the way
Sarah
the light
flooded
hit his
me.
face.
Her first day of school,
It's hard to
clutching
talk
my
about,
hand, her
even
proud
now.
grin when she coded her first app.
Every time I think about
Now
it,
she was on the other
tears
side
just
of that
start.
door, setting fire to
It's
our
hard
lives.
to talk about.
Damn it, Sarah, I whispered,
Even now,
tears mixing
after
with
all
the
this
sweat on my
time,
face.
the pain is still
Why?
so fresh.
The smoke thickened.
It was the hardest
and I
thing
felt
I've
my
ever
lungs
had to do,
scream,
telling him
each
goodbye.
breath a battle.
But
I
I
thought
knew
of our
it was for the
Palo Alto
best.
kitchen,
For both
the
of
oak
us.
table where we'd
It's hard to
laughed
talk
with Sarah.
about.
Now
Even
a
now.
distant memory as the heat
He was my
rose.
everything, you know?
James pulled me up, his
And then
hands
one day,
steady despite
I
the
remember
chaos.
that day like it was
Be quiet,
yesterday.
Emily.
The
There's
way
still
the
a way
light hit
out,
his face.
he hissed, his voice
It's hard to
cutting
talk
through my
about,
panic.
even now.
He pointed to a corner where a small
Every
vent,
time I think
barely
about
a
it,
foot
the
wide,
tears just
glowed
start.
faintly with
It's
outside
hard to
light.
talk about.
It was high on the wall, rusted
Even now,
and half hidden
after
by
all
crates,
this time,
but it was
the
our
pain is
only
still
shot.
so fresh.
The smoke was a black fog
It was the
now,
hardest thing I've
clawing
ever
at
had
my
to do,
throat,
telling
and
him
the crackle
goodbye.
of flames grew louder,
But I knew it was
licking
for
at
the
the wooden
best,
walls.
for both of
We
us.
shoved crates
It's
aside,
hard to talk about,
splinters digging
even
into
now.
my palms, the wood
He was my
groaning
everything,
under our
you
weight.
know?
I remembered teaching
And then
Sarah
one day,
to swim.
I remember that
Holding her,
day
she
like it was
kicked in the pool,
yesterday.
promising
The way
I'd
the
never
light
let
hit
her
his
drown.
face.
Now I
It's
was
hard
the
to
one
talk
drowning,
about,
and she was the
even
one
now.
holding the anchor. We
Every
climbed,
time I think
my
about it,
arms
the
shaking,
tears
my
just
nails
start.
scraping the concrete
It's
as
hard
I
to talk
hoisted
about.
myself toward the vent.
Even
James
now,
pushed me up, his
after all
strength
this
a
time,
reminder
the
of the
pain is
man
still
who'd
so
carried me
fresh.
through every crisis.
It was the hardest
vent
thing I've
was
ever
tight,
had to do,
the metal
telling
edges
him
sharp,
goodbye.
cutting into my skin as
But
I
I knew
squeezed
it was
through.
for the best.
I felt
for
the
both
heat
of
behind
us.
us,
It's
the
hard to
flames
talk about,
roaring now,
even
a beast
now.
ready to consume.
He was my
I saw
everything,
Sarah's face
you know?
again, not the woman who'd
And
locked
then
us
one
in,
day,
but the
I
girl who'd
remember
run
that
to me
day
after
like
a
it was
nightmare,
yesterday.
her tiny
The way
arms
the
around
light
my
hit
neck.
his face.
That memory burned
It's
worse
hard to
than
talk
the fire.
about, even
Move,
now.
Emily! James grunted,
Every time I
shoving me
think
forward.
about it, the
I
tears
crawled
just
through
start.
the vent, the air
It's hard to
outside
talk
hitting my
about.
face like a slap.
Even
Cool,
now,
clean,
after
alive.
all this time,
We
the
tumbled
pain
into
is
the
still so
backyard, a
fresh.
patch of dirt and weeds behind
It
the
was the
warehouse.
hardest thing I've ever
the
had to
stars
do,
above
telling
Silicon
him
Valley
goodbye.
mocking our survival.
But I knew
I
it was
lay
for
there,
the best.
gasping,
For both
my
of
dress
us.
torn,
It's
my
hard
hands
to talk
bleeding.
about.
The
Even
warehouse
now.
glowed orange behind us,
He was my
flames licking
everything,
the
you
sky,
know?
and I heard Sarah's voice
And then
in my
one
head.
day, I
It's for the
remember that
best.
day like it was
My
yesterday.
heart shattered.
The way
Not
the
just
light
from the
hit his
betrayal,
face.
but from the truth that
It's
my
hard to
daughter,
talk about,
my everything,
even now.
wanted me dead. I looked at James,
Every time I think
his
about
face
it,
smudged
the
with
tears
soot,
just start.
his eyes fierce with
It's hard to
determination.
talk about.
We're not done, Emily,
Even
he
now,
said, his hand
after all
finding
this
mine.
time, the pain
I
is still
nodded,
so fresh.
though every part of me ached.
It was
My
the hardest
body
thing
from
I've
the
ever
escape,
had to do,
my soul
telling him
from
goodbye.
Sarah's knife.
But
I
I knew
remembered
it
her
was for the
first
best,
science fair,
for both
her
of
proud
us.
smile as
It's
she
hard
showed
to
me her
talk about,
project.
even
That
now.
girl was gone,
He was
but I
my
was still her
everything,
mother,
you know?
and damn damn it, I wasn't letting her
And then
win.
one day,
The fire's
I remember
roar
that
faded
day
as
like
we
it was
crouched in the
yesterday.
shadows,
The way
night
the
air
light hit
cold
his
against my
face.
skin. I didn't
It's
know
hard to
how
talk
we'd fight
about,
back, how
even
we'd
now.
face the daughter who'd tried to bury
Every
us.
time I think
But
about
James's
it,
grip,
the tears just
the
start.
stars above, and
It's
the
hard to
fire
talk
in my
about.
gut told me we had a
Even
chance.
now, after
I
all
was
this
Emily
time, the
Carter,
pain is still
a mother
so
who
fresh.
built a company from nothing,
It was
and
the
I
hardest
wasn't
thing I've
ready
ever
to be
had
ashes.
to do, telling him
Not
goodbye.
yet. The stars above Silicon Valley glitter like cold diamonds, watching me as I lie in the dirt behind that burning warehouse.
He was my everything,
my lungs still raw from smoke,
and then one day,
my heart raw
I remember
from
that
betrayal.
day like it was yesterday.
I'm Emily Carter,
the way the light hit
55,
his face.
a mother who just crawled through
about,
hell to escape her own daughter's attempt to kill her.
Every time I think about
it, the fires roar from the warehouse in
start.
outer San Jose.
It's hard to talk
still
about.
Echoes in my ears. Its
Even
orange
now,
glow
after
painting
all
the
this
night
time,
sky
the
like
pain
a
is still
funeral
so
pyre.
fresh.
I'm telling you this as
It
I
was
lived
the hardest thing I've ever
every
had to
scrape,
do, telling him
every
goodbye.
sob, because I need you
But
to
I knew
feel
it
the
was for
moment
the
I
best,
found a
for
spark
both
of
of
hope
us.
in the
It's hard to
wreckage
talk
of my
about,
shattered
even
world.
now.
Damn it, I was
He was
broken,
my everything,
but I wasn't
you know?
done. Not when I had a
And
chance
then
to
one
take back
day,
what Sarah
I
tried to
remember
steal.
that day
We
like it was
barely made it out of
yesterday.
that vent,
The way the light hit
tumbling
his
into the
face.
backyard, a patch
It's
of
hard to
dry
talk
weeds
about,
and gravel
even
that
now.
crunched under my torn dress.
Every time
The air
I
was
think
cool,
about it, the
sharp
tears
with the
just
scent
start.
of scorched wood and
It's hard to
distant
talk about.
eucalyptus. A stark contrast
Even now,
to the choking
after all
smoke we'd
this
left
time, the
behind.
pain is still
My
so
hands
fresh.
bled, my nails torn
It was
from
the hardest
clawing
thing
at
I've
the
ever
concrete,
had to do,
and James's
telling him
face
goodbye.
was a mask of soot.
But I
His
knew it
gray
was for the
hair
best,
plastered
for
with
both
sweat.
of us.
We
It's hard
crouched
to
behind a
talk
cluster
about,
of scraggly
even
bushes,
now.
the warehouse's
He was my
flames
everything,
casting
you know?
flickering shadows across his
And
eyes.
then one day,
I could
I
still hear
remember that
Sarah's
day
voice
like
through
it
the
was
steel
yesterday.
door.
The way the
Sorry,
light
Mom,
hit his
it's for the
face.
best. And it
It's
cut
hard to
deeper
talk
than the
about,
cuts on my
even
palms.
now.
I saw her as a baby again.
Every time I
her
think
tiny
about it,
fingers
the
wrapped
tears
around
just
mine in
start.
the hospital.
It's
Her
hard to
first
talk
word,
about.
Mama, echoing
Even
in
now,
my mind.
after all
How
this
did
time,
that girl
the pain
become
is
the
still
one
so
who locked
fresh.
me in a burning tomb?
It was the hardest thing
James's
I've ever
hand
had to
found
do,
mine,
telling him
his
goodbye.
grip steady despite the tremble
But
in
I
his
knew
fingers.
it was for the best,
Emily,
for both
check
of
my
us.
pocket.
It's
He
hard to
whispered,
talk about,
his voice hoarse
even
but
now.
urgent. I
He
fumbled,
was my everything,
my hands
you know?
shaking, and pulled out a USB
And then
drive,
one day,
small
I
and
remember
black,
that day
its surface
like it was
scratched but
yesterday.
intact.
The way the light
Financial
hit his face.
backups, he said,
It's hard to
his
talk
eyes
about,
glinting with defiance.
even now.
Proof they took the 100
Every time I
million.
think about it,
My
the
heart
tears
skipped,
just start.
a flicker of hope
It's
cutting
hard to
through the
talk
fog
about.
of despair. I remembered
Even
the
now,
nights we'd spent
after
in
all
our
this
Palo
time,
Alto
the pain
kitchen,
is still so
James
fresh.
poring over spreadsheets while I
It
made
was the
coffee,
hardest thing I've ever
Sarah
had to do,
asleep
telling him
upstairs.
goodbye.
He'd always backed up our data,
But I knew it was
a
for the
habit
best,
from the garage
for both of
days when a
us.
single
It's hard
crash
to talk
could have
about,
ruined us.
even now.
Now, this tiny
He was
piece
my
of plastic
everything,
held
you
the
know?
truth. Sarah and
And then
Rachel's
one day,
theft.
I
Their
remember
plan to
that
steal
day
Carter
like it
Tech.
was yesterday.
It was our lifeline.
The way the light hit
But
his
I wasn't
face.
ready to hand it over yet.
It was the hardest
I
thing I've
needed
ever
more
had
than
to
numbers.
do, telling
I
him
needed
goodbye.
Sarah's confession, her
But I
voice
knew it was
admitting
for the
what she'd
best,
done.
for both of us.
I pulled out my phone.
It's hard to talk
the
about,
screen cracked
even
but
now.
glowing, and saw it was
He was
still
my
recording from the
everything,
party.
you know?
My fingers sticky
And then
with
one day,
blood typed a
I
message.
remember that day
Mom
like it was
knows
yesterday.
everything. Meet
The
me
way
in
the
the
light hit
backyard.
his face.
I sent it to Sarah,
It's
my
hard to
heart
talk
pounding
about,
like a drum.
even now.
James hissed, Emily, what the
Every
hell?
time
We
I
need to
think
call the
about
cops.
it, the tears
But I
just
shook
start.
my head, my eyes locked on
It's
the
hard to
warehouse's
talk about.
glow. I need to hear it from
Even
her,
now,
James.
after
I'm
all
her
this
mother.
time, the
I need
pain
to
is
know
still
why.
so fresh.
He stared at me.
It was the
and
hardest
nodded,
thing I've ever
his jaw
had to do,
tight.
telling him goodbye.
I remembered teaching Sarah to ride a
But
bike.
I knew it was for
her
the
wobbly
best,
triumph.
for both of
My
us.
cheers.
It's hard to
I
talk
had to
about,
believe there was still
even
something
now.
human in her, even
He was
now.
my everything,
We
you know?
waited, hidden in the shadows.
And then one day,
the bushes
I
scratching
remember
my
that
arms.
day like it was
the fire's
yesterday.
heat pulsed
The
in
way
the
the
distance.
light hit his
Sirens
face.
faint but growing
It's
louder.
hard to talk about,
Then I saw them.
even now.
Sarah and Rachel stepping
Every
out from the
time I think
warehouse's
about it,
side door,
the tears
their
just
silhouettes
start.
sharp against the flames.
It's hard to talk about.
Sarah's blonde hair caught the light.
Even now,
her face pale
after
but
all this
smug,
time, the
like
pain
she'd
is
already
still
won.
so fresh.
Rachel followed.
It was
her
the
curls
hardest thing I've
bouncing,
ever had
her
to do,
eyes scanning
telling
the
him
dark.
goodbye.
They're gone.
But I knew it was
Sarah
for the
said,
best,
her voice
for both
carrying
of us.
over the gravel.
It's hard to talk
The fire
about,
took care of it.
even now.
Carter Tech's ours
He
now.
was my everything,
Rachel
you know?
laughed, sharp and cruel.
And then one day,
and the 100 million
I remember that
buried
day
with them.
like it was
We'll
yesterday.
tell the board it was a
The way
bad
the light
investment.
hit his
Cry at the
face.
funeral and move on.
It's hard to talk about,
My blood ran cold,
even
but
now.
my thumb pressed harder on the phone's
Every
record
time I
button,
think about it,
capturing
the
every
tears just
damning
start.
word. Sarah kept
It's hard to
talking,
talk
her voice
about.
dripping with confidence.
Even now,
Mom was always
after
too
all this
soft, too
time,
stuck
the
in the
pain is
past.
still so
She didn't
fresh.
get Silicon Valley's game.
It was the
We did
hardest
her a
thing I've
favor.
ever had to do,
I bit my
telling him
lips
goodbye.
so hard I tasted blood,
But I knew it was for
stifling stifling a sob.
For
I
both
saw
of
Sarah
us.
at her
It's
MIT
hard to talk
graduation,
about.
her cap
Even
tilted,
now.
her grin
He
wide
was
as
my
she hugged me.
everything, you know?
I'm gonna make you proud,
And then one
Mom,
day,
she'd said.
I remember that
Now she
day
was
like
proud
it
of
was
this,
yesterday.
burning her
The way
parents
the light
alive to
hit his
steal their
face.
legacy.
It's hard
My
to talk
hands
about.
shook, but the
Even
phone
now.
stayed steady, recording her confession.
Every time I think
her
about
betrayal
it,
laid
the
bare
tears
under the
just start.
stars. Rachel chimed
It's hard
in.
to talk
The
about.
forged signatures are already
Even now,
filed.
after
By
all this
tomorrow,
time,
we're
the
the new
pain is
face
still
of
so
Carter
fresh.
Tech. They laughed.
It was the hardest
a sound
thing
that
I've ever
twisted
had
my
to
gut,
do,
and
telling
I
him
felt James's
goodbye.
hand tighten on mine.
But I
his
knew it
breath
was for the
ragged
best,
but silent.
for both of us.
I wanted to scream,
It's hard to talk
run out
about.
and slap Sarah,
Even now.
to demand how she could
He
do
was
this
my
to the mother
everything,
who'd given
you
her
know?
everything. But I stayed
And then
still.
one day,
My
I
body
remember that
pressed
day
against the
like it
cold
was
earth,
yesterday.
the USB
The way
in
the
one
light
hand,
hit his
the
face.
phone in the other.
It's hard
I
to talk
remembered
about.
the nights I'd sat with
Even
Sarah,
now.
helping her debug code.
Every time
her
I
eyes
think about
bright
it,
with
the
excitement.
tears just start.
That girl was gone.
It's hard to talk
replaced by
about.
this stranger who saw me as an
Even
obstacle.
now, after
Yet
all
in
this
that
time,
moment,
the pain
I
is
felt a
still so
shift.
fresh.
A fire in me
It
hotter
was the
than
hardest
the one
thing
we'd
I've ever
escaped.
had to do,
I was a
telling him
mother,
goodbye.
yes, but I was also
But I knew it was
Emily
for the
Carter,
best,
who
for
built
both of
Carter
us.
Tech from a
It's
garage.
hard to talk about.
Damn it,
Even
I
now.
wasn't letting Sarah take that
He
away.
was my everything.
The sirens
you know?
grew louder, red and,
And then
blue
one day,
lights flashing
I
in the
remember
distance.
that day like
Sarah
it was
and
yesterday.
Rachel froze,
The way
their
the light
smugness
hit his
faltering.
face.
We need to move,
It's hard to talk
Rachel
about.
said, her voice
Even
sharp.
now.
The cops can't find us here.
Every time I
They
think
turned
about
to
it,
leave,
the
their
tears just
footsteps
start.
crunching on the gravel,
It's hard to talk
oblivious to
about.
us in the shadows. James
Even now,
whispered,
after
"Now,
all
Emily,
this
call
time,
it in."
the pain is still so
I nodded,
fresh.
my fingers dialing 911,
It was the hardest thing I've
my voice
ever had to
barely
do,
a whisper
telling
as I
him
reported
goodbye.
the fire and the attempt on our
But I
lives.
knew it was for the
But
best,
inside,
for
I was
both of us.
screaming.
It's hard
Not
to
just
talk
for survival,
about. Even
but
now.
for justice.
He was
I
my
saw Sarah's
everything,
first
you know?
science fair, her tiny
And
hands
then one
holding
day,
a trophy.
I remember
my
that
applause
day like it was
echoing.
yesterday.
That love
way
was
the
still
light
in
hit
me,
his
but it was
face.
fuel now.
It's
not
hard to talk
weakness.
about.
As
Even
we
now,
crouched there, the stars above
every time I
unyielding,
think about it,
I
the
clutched the
tears just
USB
start.
and phone, my
It's hard to
evidence
talk
against
about.
the daughter who'd tried to bury me.
Even now,
the fire's
after
glow
all this
faded,
time, the
but a
pain
new
is still
light
so
burned in me.
fresh.
A mother's resolve.
It was the hardest thing I've
forged
ever
in
had to
betrayal.
do, telling him
I
goodbye.
didn't know how we'd face Sarah,
But
how
I
we'd
knew
rebuild,
it was for the best,
but damn
for
it,
both
I
of
had
us.
proof, and I
It's
had
hard
James.
to talk about.
We weren't
Even
ashes
now.
yet. The stars
was
that
my
watched us in the
everything, you know?
backyard that night, cold
And then
and
one
unyielding
day,
above
I
Silicon
remember
Valley,
that day like it
still
was
burn
yesterday.
in my memory.
The way the
but they're
light hit
nothing
his
compared to
face.
the fire in my
It's hard
chest
to
when I
talk
faced
about.
my daughter.
Even now,
I'm Emily Carter,
every time I think
55,
about it,
a mother
the
who
tears just
crawled out of
start.
a burning warehouse,
It's hard to talk
only to
about.
find her heart torched by betrayal.
Even now, after
The
all
sirens
this time,
that
the
pierced
pain
the
is still
air
so
as James
fresh.
and I crouched in the weeds.
It was the hardest
clutching
thing I've
proof
ever
of
had to
Sarah's
do,
crimes,
telling him goodbye.
marked the moment I stopped running.
But I knew it was for the best.
I'm telling you this
for
as
both
I
of
lived
us.
it, every
hard to
heartbeat,
talk about.
every tear,
Even now.
because I need you to feel what
He
it's
was my
like to look your
everything,
child
you
in
know?
the eye and see a stranger.
And then one day,
Damn it, I won
remember
that night,
that day
but
like
victory
it was
tasted
yesterday.
like ash.
The way the light
The red
hit
and
his
blue
face.
lights of police cars
hard
flooded the
to talk
backyard,
about.
their
Even
beams
now.
slicing through the dark, turning the
Every
gravel
time
and
I think
bushes
about
into
it,
a stark
the tears
stage.
just start.
The warehouse fire
hard to
roared
talk
behind
about.
us, its orange glow
Even
fading
now,
as firefighters
after all
battled
this
the
time,
flames.
the pain is still
I
so
stood,
fresh.
my dress torn,
It
my
was the
hands
hardest
still
thing I've ever
clutching
had
the
to do,
USB and
telling
phone.
him goodbye.
Sarah's recorded
But I
confession
knew it was
heavy
for
in
the
my
best,
pocket.
for both
James's
of us.
arm steadied
It's
me,
hard to talk
his face
about.
smudged with
Even
soot,
now.
but his eyes fierce.
He was my
We'd
everything,
called
you
911
know?
from the shadows, whispering
And
our
then one
story
day,
to the operator.
I remember
and
that
now
day
the cops
like
were
it was
here,
yesterday.
their boots
The
crunching
way the
towards
light
Sarah
hit
and
his
Rachel.
face.
I heard Sarah's
hard to
voice,
talk about.
high and panicked,
Even
as
now.
they emerged from the warehouse's side
Every
door.
time I think about
Officers,
it, the
thank God
tears
you're
just
here, she
start.
cried, her performance
hard to talk
Oscar-worthy. There was a fire, my
Even
parents,
now,
they're inside.
after all this time, the
Rachel
pain is
sobbed
still
beside
so
her,
fresh.
her curls plastered to her
It was
face,
the hardest thing I've
playing
ever
the
had to
grieving
do,
friend.
telling him goodbye.
I stepped out from the bushes,
But I knew
my
it was
legs
for the
shaking,
best,
but my
for
resolve
both of
iron.
us. It's
The
hard to
moonlight
talk
caught my
about.
face, and
Even
Sarah's
now.
eyes widened,
He was
her
my
act
everything,
crumbling.
you know?
Mom, she
And
gasped,
then one
her
day,
voice breaking.
I remember
You're
that
alive.
day like it was yesterday.
Rachel froze,
The way the
her mouth
light
half
hit
mouth open like a deer caught in headlights.
It's hard to talk
the
about.
The cops turned,
even
their
now.
hands on their holsters, and I held up
Every
the
time I
USB,
think about
my
it,
voice steady
the tears
despite
just
the storm
start.
inside.
It's hard
They
to
tried
talk
to
about.
kill us, I said, pointing at Sarah.
Even now,
they locked
after
us in
all
that
this
warehouse,
time, the
set it
pain
on
is still
fire,
so
and stole
fresh.
$100 million from
It was the
Carter
hardest
Tech.
thing I've ever
it's
had
all
to
here.
do.
telling him
The
goodbye.
officer in charge, a
But
grizzled
I knew
man
it
with
was
a
for the
badge
best
reading Sergeant
for both of us.
Martinez, took
It's
the
hard to talk
USB,
about.
his eyes
Even now,
narrowing as he glanced at Sarah
He
and
was
Rachel.
my everything, you know.
Is this true? He asked,
And then
his
one
voice
day,
sharp.
I remember
Sarah's
that
face
day
twisted,
like it was yesterday.
tears streaming.
The way
but
the
they
light
weren't
hit his
real,
face.
not like the ones I'd shed
It's
for
hard
her.
to talk about.
Mom, no, it
Even
was an
now.
accident, she sobbed,
Every
dropping
time I
to her
think
knees,
about it,
reaching
the tears
for me.
just start.
I'd never hurt you.
It's hard to talk about.
I saw her as a toddler, clinging
Even
to my
now,
leg after a
after
nightmare,
all this time,
her
the
tiny
pain is still
voice
so
calling,
fresh.
Mama.
It was the
That
hardest
girl was
thing I've
gone.
ever had to do.
You buried
telling
your
him
mother
goodbye.
when you locked that door, I said,
But I knew
my
it was
voice
for the
cold
best
as the night air.
for both of us.
Rachel tried
It's
to
hard to
run,
talk
but a
about.
cop grabbed her,
Even now.
the cuffs clicking like a
He
gavel.
was my everything.
Sarah's
you know?
cries turned to wails,
And then
her
one
hands
day,
clawing at
I
the
remember
gravel.
that day
Mom,
like it was
please,
yesterday.
she begged,
The
but
way
I turned
the light
away,
hit his
my
face.
heart a shattered thing.
It's hard to
I
talk
remembered
about.
her first coding
Even now.
project, her proud smile
Every
as I
time I
praised
think
her.
about it,
Now
the
that
tears
pride
just
was
start.
poison.
hard to
Martinez
talk
played the
about.
recording on my phone, Sarah's
Even
voice
now,
echoing in the
after all
backyard.
this time, the
Mom's
pain is
too
still
old
so
school.
fresh.
The fire took care of it.
It was the hardest
Carter
thing I've
Tech's
ever had
ours.
to do.
Her
Telling him
face
goodbye.
drained of color, her
But
lies
I knew it was
exposed
for the
under the
best
stars.
for both of
Rachel
us.
shouted, "It
It's
was
hard
her
to talk
idea!"
about.
pointing
Even
at Sarah.
now.
But the cops weren't
He was
buying
my
their blame
everything,
game.
you know.
They were cuffed, led to the
And
squad
then one
cars,
day,
their silhouettes
I
fading
remember
against
that
the
day
flashing
like
lights.
it was yesterday.
I stood there,
The way the light
James's
hit his
arm
face.
around me, watching my
It's
daughter
hard to talk
disappear
about.
into the night.
Even now,
The warehouse smoldered,
Every time
its
I think
charred
about it,
beams a
the
mirror of
tears
my
just
broken
start.
dreams. I
It's
thought
hard
of
to
our
talk
Palo
about.
Alto kitchen, the oak table
Even
where
now,
Sarah carved her
after
initials,
all this time,
now
the
a
pain is
relic of
still
a
so
family that
fresh.
no longer existed.
It was the hardest thing I've
2
ever
days
had
later,
to do.
I stood in
telling
Carter
him
Tech's
goodbye.
boardroom, the glass walls
But I knew
reflecting
it
the
was for the
harsh
best
white light of
for
truth.
both of us.
The room
It's
smelled
hard
of
to talk
coffee and
about.
nervous sweat.
Even now.
The team gathered around
He
the
was my
mahogany
everything,
table,
you know.
their faces a mix of shock
And then
pity.
one day,
I wore a
I
black
remember
blazer,
that day
my
like
hair
it was
pulled
yesterday.
back, my hands
The way
still
the light
bandaged
hit
from
his
the
face.
warehouse. James
hard to
stood
talk
beside
about.
me, his
Even
presence a
now.
quiet strength. I held
Every
the
time I
USB,
think about
now
it,
copied
the
to the
tears
company
just start.
servers, and played Sarah's
to talk
confession
about.
for the board. Gasps
Even
filled the
now,
room as
after
her
all
voice
this
admitted to
time,
the
the
theft,
pain is still
the
so
fire,
fresh.
the betrayal. I
It
looked
was
at
the
their
hardest
faces,
thing I've ever had to do,
engineers who'd
telling him
coded with
goodbye.
me, marketers who'd
But I knew
celebrated
it
our
was for
wins,
the best
and felt
for
a
both
weight
of us.
lift.
It's hard to
Sarah
talk about.
and Rachel tried
Even
to take
now.
Carter Tech, I said,
was my
voice
everything,
steady
you
but
know.
raw. They tried to kill
And
us,
then one day,
but we're still
I
here,
remember that
and this
day
company
like
is
it was
ours.
yesterday.
The board
way the
voted
light hit his
unanimously to
face.
remove Sarah and Rachel,
hard to talk
their
about.
shares frozen
Even
pending
now.
investigation. I
Every
appointed
time I
Lisa,
think about it,
a loyal
the tears
engineer
just
who'd been
start.
with us since the garage
hard to
days,
talk about.
as interim director.
Even
James
now,
and I outlined a
after all
plan
this
to
time, the
rebuild,
pain is
new
still so
audits,
fresh.
new contracts, a new start.
It was the hardest thing I've
The
ever
room
had to
buzzed
do.
with
telling him
resolve,
goodbye.
the team rallying behind
But
us.
I knew it was for the
But
best
as I spoke,
for both of
I
us.
saw Sarah's
It's
face
hard
in
to
my
talk
mind.
about.
Her at
Even
5,
now.
splashing in a
He was
Palo
my
Alto
everything,
pool,
you know.
laughing as I taught her to float.
And then one day,
That memory
I remember
stung,
that day like
a
it was
wound
yesterday.
that wouldn't close.
The way the light
I'd
hit
won
his
back
face.
Carter Tech, but I'd lost
It's
my
hard
daughter.
to talk about.
Victory
Even
was
now.
mine, but damn it, it felt
Every
hollow.
time I think about it,
Back
the
home that
tears
night,
just
I
start.
sat in our kitchen, the
It's hard to
lavender
talk
candles
about.
from Sarah's last birthday
Even
unlit
now,
on the table.
after all this
James
time,
poured
the
me a
pain
glass
is
of
still
wine,
so fresh.
his hand brushing mine.
It was the
A
hardest
silent
thing I've ever
promise
had
we'd
to
get
do.
through this.
Telling him goodbye.
I traced the scratch Sarah made
But
as
I
a
knew
kid,
it was for the
my
best
fingers lingering
for both
on
of
her
us.
initials.
It's hard to
I'd
talk
raised her to
about.
be strong,
Even
to
now.
chase her dreams,
He was
but I
my
hadn't seen the
everything,
monster
you know?
she'd become. The
And
pain
then
was
one
a
day,
living thing
I remember
clawing
that
at my
day
chest,
like it was
but
yesterday.
I felt something else
the
too.
way the light hit
a
his
fire
face.
born in that warehouse,
It's hard
fueled
to
by
talk
survival.
about. Even
I
now,
was Emily Carter, a mother
every
who
time I
fought
think
for
about
her
it,
life,
the
her
tears
company,
just start.
her truth.
It's hard to talk about.
I didn't know how I'd face the days ahead,
Even
but I
now,
knew I'd keep
after all
fighting.
this time, the
The
pain is
boardroom
still
lights
so
had
fresh.
dimmed, but Carter Tech wasn't
It was the
dead.
hardest thing I've ever
Neither
had
was
to
I.
do. Telling him goodbye.
Sarah had tried to bury me, but
I
I'd
knew
clawed
it was
my
for
way
the
out.
best
And
for
damn
both
it,
of us.
I'd build something
It's hard
new
to talk
from the
about.
ashes.
Even now.
The stars outside
He
our
was my
window
everything,
twinkled,
you know?
and for the first time,
And
they
then
didn't
one
feel
day,
so cold.
I remember that
The
day
stars
like
that
it was
once mocked
yesterday.
me from the
The
Silicon
way the
Valley
light hit his
sky
face.
now feel like quiet
It's hard to
witnesses,
talk about,
twinkling
even
above my
now.
Palo Alto porch as I sit here,
Every time
a
I think
year
about
after
it,
facing my
the
daughter
tears
in that
just start.
fiery nightmare.
It's hard
I'm
to
Emily
talk about.
Carter, 56, a
Even
mother
now,
who clawed her
after
way
all
out of a
this
burning
time, the pain
warehouse
is still
and a
so
deeper
fresh.
betrayal, my own
It was the
daughter's
hardest thing I've
attempt to
ever
bury
had
me.
to do. telling
The
him
boardroom
goodbye.
victory, where I stood under
But I
harsh
knew it
white
was for the
lights and
best
reclaimed
for
Carter
both of
Tech,
us.
was only
It's
the
hard
beginning.
to talk about.
I'm
Even
telling
now.
you this as I lived
He was my
it.
everything,
Every
you know?
scar, every spark
And then
of
one
hope.
day,
Because
I remember
need you
that
to
day
feel what
like
it's
it was
like
yesterday.
to rise from ashes
The way the light
when
hit
your
his
heart's
face.
been torn apart.
It's hard to talk
Damn it.
about.
I lost
Even
Sarah,
now.
but I found something stronger.
Every time I think
myself.
about it, the
It's
tears
been a
just
year
start.
since the police lights flashed
hard
in
to
that
talk
San Jose
about.
backyard, since Sarah's
Even now,
voice cracked,
after all
begging
this time,
Mom
the
as she
pain
was
is still
cuffed.
so fresh.
I can still see her face.
It was the hardest
twisted
thing
with
I've ever
panic.
had to do,
No trace of the
telling him
girl I'd
goodbye.
raised. Back then,
But I
thought
knew it was
winning
for the
back
best
Carter Tech
for
would
both
fill
of
the
us.
holes she left.
It's hard to
but
talk
the truth
about.
is, it
Even
didn't.
now.
The first weeks
He was
after
my
were
everything,
brutal.
you know?
I'd walk into our Mountain View
And
office,
then one day,
the glass
I
walls
remember that
reflecting
day
my
like it was
bandaged
yesterday.
hands, the air
way the
thick
light
with
hit his
coffee
face.
and whispers. The team
hard to
rallied
talk
behind
about,
me and James,
even now.
but every corner held ghosts.
Every time I think
Sarah's
about it,
desk,
the
still
tears just
cluttered with her
start.
pens,
hard
Rachel's
to
old
talk
chair,
about.
now empty. I'd catch
Even
myself
now,
staring at the
after all
framed
this
photo
time,
on
the
my
pain is
desk,
still so
the one from
fresh.
Sarah's MIT graduation.
It was the hardest thing I've
her
ever
smile
had to do,
bright under a
telling him
Boston
goodbye.
sky. I'd
But
touch
I
her
knew
face,
it was for the
my
best
fingers trembling,
for both of us.
and wonder where I
It's
went
hard
wrong.
to talk about.
Our
Even
home in
now.
Palo Alto was no refuge.
He was my everything.
The oak
you
table
know?
in the kitchen, where Sarah
And then
carved her
one day,
initials as a kid,
I remember that
felt like a
day
gravestone.
like it was yesterday.
I'd sit there
The way
at night,
the light hit his
the lavender
face.
candles from her last
It's hard to
birthday
talk about,
unlit,
even
their
now.
wax hardened like my heart.
Every time I
James
think
would
about
hold
it,
my hand,
the tears
his
just
gray
start.
hair catching the moonlight,
hard to talk
and we'd
about.
talk about rebuilding,
Even
not just
now,
Carter Tech,
after
but
all
us.
this time, the
We
pain
poured
is still
everything
so
into
fresh.
the company. Lisa, our
It was
new
the
director,
hardest thing
was
I've
a
ever had to
godsend.
do, telling
her
him
quiet
goodbye.
strength guiding us through audits
But I
and
knew
new
it was for the
contracts.
best
The
for
office
both of
buzzed
us.
again,
It's hard to
monitors
talk about,
flickering with
even
fresh
now.
code, whiteboards
He was my
alive with
everything,
ideas.
you know?
Carter Tech landed a deal
And then
with a
one
tech
day,
giant,
I
and the
remember
numbers
that
climbed,
day like it was
our revenue
yesterday.
soaring past
The way
where
the
it had
light
been
hit his
before
face.
Sarah's theft. The
It's
team
hard to talk
celebrated,
about,
clinking glasses
even
in the
now.
break room, but I'd slip away,
Every time I
haunted
think
by
about
the
it,
memory of
the
Sarah's
tears just
laughter in
start.
that same room.
It's hard
her
to talk
voice
about.
once bright with dreams. I
Even
couldn't
now,
escape her.
after all
Every
this
night
time,
I'd lie
the pain
awake,
is
the
still
ceiling
so
fan
fresh.
humming, and see her as a child.
It was the hardest thing I've ever
splashing
had
in a
to do,
Palo Alto
telling him
pool,
goodbye.
her giggles echoing as
But
I
I knew
taught her
it
to
was for the
float.
best
I'd
for
remember
both
her
of us.
first science fair,
hard to
her
talk
tiny
about,
hands clutching
even
a
now.
trophy, my
He
applause
was my
louder
everything,
than anyone's.
you know?
Those memories weren't
And then
just
one
pain,
day,
they
I
were
remember
fuel.
that day like it was
I'd
yesterday.
failed Sarah somehow,
The way the light hit his
raised a
face.
daughter who saw me as an
It's hard to
obstacle,
talk about,
but I wasn't the
even
failure.
now.
I was a mother who'd
Every
given
time I
everything,
think about it,
and damn
the
it,
tears just
I deserved
start.
to stand tall.
It's hard to talk about.
That realization didn't come easy.
Even now,
it took months
after
of
all this
staring into
time,
the
the
dark,
pain is
of
still
crying
so
in James's
fresh.
arms, of walking through
It was
Carter
the
Tech's
hardest thing
halls
I've ever
and
had to
choosing
do,
to keep going.
telling him goodbye.
The scars on my hands faded,
But I knew it was for
but the
the
ones
best
on my heart,
for both of us.
they're still there.
It's hard to
raw
talk about,
and real.
even now.
One day,
He was
I got
my
a call from a
everything,
startup
you know?
incubator in San Francisco,
And then one
asking
day,
me to speak to
I
young
remember that
entrepreneurs.
day like it was
I
yesterday.
hesitated, my
The way
throat
the light
tight at
hit
the
his
thought of
face.
telling my story.
It's
But
hard to
James
talk
looked
about,
at me, his
even
eyes steady,
now.
and said, "Emily,
Every
you've got
time I
something
think
to give."
about it, the tears
So I
just
went,
start.
standing in a sleek conference hall,
hard to talk
the city
about.
skyline glittering through the windows.
Even now,
the room
after all
smelled of
this
fresh
time, the
coffee and
pain is
ambition,
still so
just like
fresh.
Carter Tech's early days.
It was the
I
hardest
stood
thing
at
I've
the
ever
podium,
had to do,
my hair
telling him
grayer now,
goodbye.
my voice steady but raw.
But I knew it was
My
for the
daughter
best
tried to kill me.
for both of us.
I began.
It's hard
the
to
words
talk
heavy
about,
as stones.
even now.
The crowd gasped.
He was
their
my
eyes
everything,
wide,
you
but I
know?
kept going. She locked
And
me
then
in a
one day,
warehouse, set it
I
on
remember
fire,
that
and
day
stole
like it was
$100 million
yesterday.
to take
The
my
way the
company.
light hit his
but I'm
face.
here, and I'm telling you
It's
this.
hard to talk about,
Even if your
even
own
now.
child buries you in the backyard,
Every time
you
I
can
think
dig
about
your
it,
way out
the
if you
tears
believe in
just start.
yourself.
It's hard
I
to
told
talk
them
about.
everything. Sarah's betrayal,
Even now,
the
after
USB,
all this time,
the
the
recording,
pain is still
the
so
fight
fresh.
to reclaim Carter Tech.
It was the hardest
I
thing
told
I've
them
ever
about the
had to
nights
do,
I taught Sarah
telling
to
him goodbye.
code, her eyes bright
But
with
I knew
wonder,
it was for the best
and how those same
for both
eyes
of us.
turned cold,
It's hard to
plotting
talk
my
about,
death.
even now.
I told them about James,
He was my everything,
my rock,
you know?
and the team that became my family.
And then one one day,
The room
I
was
remember that
silent
day
and erupted
like
in
it was
applause.
yesterday.
And for
The
the
way
first
the light
time,
hit
I
his
felt
face.
light. I
It's
wasn't
hard to
just a
talk
mother
about,
who'd lost her daughter.
even now.
I was a woman who'd found her strength.
Every time I think about
I
it,
started
the tears
mentoring
just
regularly,
start.
sharing my story
It's
with
hard to talk
coders and
about.
dreamers. Each talk a
Even
step
now,
toward healing.
after all this time,
The San Francisco
pain is still
skyline,
so
with its sharp
fresh.
edges and glowing lights,
It was the hardest
became
thing
my
I've
new
ever
horizon.
had to do.
a
telling him
reminder
goodbye.
that I could rebuild.
But I knew
Back
it was
home,
for the best.
I'd sit on our
for
porch,
both of us.
the eucalyptus
hard to
breeze
talk
soft
about,
against my
even
skin,
now.
and look at the stars.
He was my everything.
They didn't
you know?
feel cold anymore.
And then
James
one day,
would join me,
I remember
his
that
hand
day
warm in
like it was
mine,
yesterday.
and we'd talk
the
about
way
the
the
future.
light hit his face.
New projects,
It was
new
the hardest
dreams.
thing I've ever had to do.
Carter Tech was
telling him
stronger than
goodbye.
ever, a testament to our
But
resilience.
I knew it was for the best.
But the real
for both
victory
of us.
wasn't the company.
It's hard to talk
it was
about.
me.
Even
I
now.
loved Sarah with everything
He
I
was
had.
my everything,
And she'd
you
tried
know?
to bury me, but I dug
And then
myself
one day,
out.
I remember that
her
day
first bike
like it was
ride,
yesterday.
her wobbly
the
triumph,
way the light
my
hit
cheers.
his face.
That love was still
It's
in
hard
me,
to
but
talk
it wasn't
about,
for her anymore.
even now.
It was for me, for the woman
Every
who'd
time
survived.
I think about it,
I'm
the
Emily
tears
Carter,
just start.
a mother who lost her
It's hard
daughter
to
but
talk
found
about.
herself. I'm telling you this
Even
because
now,
I need
after
you
all
to know
this time, the pain
your
is
worth
still so
isn't
fresh.
in the love others give you,
It was the hardest
but in
thing
the
I've ever
strength
had
you
to do.
find when
telling
they
him
turn
goodbye.
away. I look at the
But I knew it
Silicon
was for
Valley
the
sky
best,
now,
for both
its
of us.
stars bright
It's
against
hard
the
to
dark,
talk about,
and I know
even now.
I'm enough. Damn
He was
it,
my
I've always been
everything,
enough.
you know?
So that's my story,
And then
raw
one day,
and real.
I remember
From the
that day
ashes of
like
that
it was
warehouse
yesterday.
to the
way the
stars
light
I
hit
see
his
now.
face.
I'm Emily
It's
Carter,
hard to talk
a
about,
mother who learned
even
the
now.
hard way that love doesn't always shield
Every time
you,
I think
but
about it,
strength
the
can pull
tears
you
just
through.
start.
I've bared my
It's hard to
soul
talk
here,
about.
and I'd love to hear what you
Even
think.
now,
Have
after
you
all
ever
this time,
faced a
the pain is
betrayal
still
that
so
shook
fresh.
your world? How did
It was
you
the
dig
hardest thing
yourself
I've ever
out?
had to do,
Share your
telling him
thoughts. Your
goodbye.
stories matter just like mine.
But I knew it was for
Thank
the best.
you for listening,
for both of
for
us.
sitting with me through
It's
this
hard to
pain
talk
and
about,
triumph.
even
it
now.
means more than you know.
He was my
I'll be
everything,
back,
you know?
maybe on this same Palo
And then
Alto
one day,
porch.
I
with
remember
more to
that day
tell.
like it was
Until
yesterday.
then, keep fighting.
The way the light
keep
hit his
believing in
face.
yourself. Damn it,
It's hard
you're
to
enough.
talk about.